Hey y'all, welcome back to Manic Episodes, the long-awaited return! I know. So here's something you probably figured out about me, and that's when it comes to TV, I love horror and the supernatural. I love adventures and fantasy and creepy crawly with just a little bit of melodrama. Love it to bits. I want to analyze some arcs, I want to see some really cool heroes battling the forces of evil. And also, I really love The Nanny. I don't know what it is. I don't usually get into sitcoms, but for some reason, The Nanny just really gets to me. I adore that Fran is wild and often classless, but brashly confident, and her sense of style is out of this world. And she and me? Aesthetically kindred spirits. Give me that candy wrapper dress yesterday. And the show is just incredibly funny. Niles and Cici had all of the best lines. Basically, anytime they showed up, I was laughing.
Just plain tomato juice? Don't you have anything hard?
Not for you.
Fran Drescher has said that her brand of humor is inspired by Lucille Ball, and I could see that absolutely in her performance, but updated for the 90s. I've got mad respect for her as a performer and a person, and I think she created a wonderful, iconic character that will last forever. The Nanny is tacky, wacky, and just my kind of silliness. And also, they did a lot of stuff that made me do a double take and ask, what the f***? So here it is. Without any further ado, here's my top 10 WTF moments in The Nanny. Number 10. Jumanji? This one kills me just because of how jarring it is. It's a very strange editing moment. So Fran has taken Gracie to a sale at Loman's, the greatest love of her life next to Mr. Sheffield, and there's a crowd gathered there to get inside. The doors fly open, and then this happens. Just Jumanji, right in the middle of it. I mean, I guess the network had the rights to use the clip or something, and maybe they just wanted to use a crazy stampede shot, but like, literally anything would be better than this. You could have found footage of an angry mob with pitchforks, or some National Geographic stampede or something. Basically anything but an instantly recognizable and specific blockbuster. I guess they took this idea and ran with it. Number 9. Frostbusters! The Nanny had a ton of guest stars, some of which are more out of nowhere than others. For instance, did you know that Ray Charles played a recurring character on The Nanny? Well, now you do, and that's amazing. Also, apparently Everybody Loves Raymond exists in the same universe. But the one that always sticks with me is Frostbusters.
Frostbusters! Could be a condenser problem. I think you got a crack.
Nothing else in the episode had to do with this. Just weirdly tacked on at the end, here's Dan Aykroyd making a Ghostbusters reference and a crack joke. I guess maybe he was just at the studio that day and someone called in a favor. Who you gonna call? Frostbusters, apparently. Number 8. Sultan Mr. Sheffield. I guess I can't really say this is racist since the episode takes place in a fictional country, but there's something inherently terrible about the fact that they double cast English actor Charles Shaughnessy as a vaguely Arabic king almost in brownface.
The Englishman. What can this man possibly offer you that I cannot?
So in this episode, Fran and Gracie visit a fictional Middle Eastern country and end up meeting the Sultan of Khorasan, who happens to look exactly like Mr. Sheffield for no reason other than the writers thought it would be funny. Overall, it was just a strange concept for The Nanny in general, but I can't say I don't enjoy it for being completely out of left field. But casting Charles Shaughnessy as a Middle Eastern Sultan? Don't be insulting our intelligence. Number 7. The Rosie Show. This episode was kind of weird from the get-go. I mean, Rosie O'Donnell had already been on The Nanny as a separate character, but now apparently her talk show also exists in this universe. One day, when Fran is at a taping of the show, she throws out a comment from the audience, and instead of being escorted out or quieted down like in real life, she is taken backstage and given a regular spot with them doling out parenting advice. This is all over a single C-SPAN joke.
That's my lovely assistant telling me that my son will not go down for his nap.
But on C-SPAN, those senators put each other to sleep.
But anyway, Fran gets too busy to do her regular nanny job, and that's when things get weird.
What's this I hear about your nanny on a talk show? On a talk show. Who's the schmuck who let her do this to your children?
So, just to clear things up here, Mr. Sheffield is told in a dream by the spirit of one of Fran's relatives, who looks just like her, via song, that she needs to leave the Rosie O'Donnell show to raise his kids. I've never been so happy to see an episode hijacked by a musical number. Number 6. Niles tries to murder Cici. Niles and Cici always had a complicated relationship. Cici was always chasing after Mr. Sheffield, and Niles was there to cut her down with his dry wit and delightfully mean pranks.
Niles, my eggs are all dried up.
The gene pool is saved.
But I think we can all agree that there's a difference between mean-spirited barbs and outright trying to murder someone. And Niles put Cici into potentially deadly situations on more than one occasion.
I don't have time for you. I'm being taken out tonight.
Oh, well, in that case, I'll open the drapes and give the gunman a cleaner shot.
It might be a stretch to call this a moment since this happened more than once on The Nanny, but I feel it still has its place on the list. Niles caused Cici to break her leg, hit her on the head with a door and knocked her unconscious, and once tried to coax her into suicide.
There. Now don't do anything rash.
But hey, it's not like the two of them ended up getting married, or that'd be a pretty messed up relationship. Wait.
She even thought you were trying to kill me.
Oh, I wouldn't dream of touching you like any other normal man.
Number 5. The Chatterbox. Nothing on television consistently fails quite so badly as a backdoor pilot, and The Nanny had a pretty awful one in season 2. Why they decided this was a concept worth pursuing is anyone's guess, because it's not like this focused on any places or characters previously seen on The Nanny. But honestly, the worst part of it is just how stereotypical, offensive, and unfunny it was. The whole thing centers on the Chatterbox, a popular salon, apparently, run by a handsome widow and full of colorful characters. By far the most unrealistic thing about it is them trying to portray this man as a straight Lothario hairdresser. But don't you worry, because they have a flamboyant, campy stereotype to fulfill all of your offensive gay joke needs.
Do you know a nice hotel around here? Or maybe a shelter? I don't really know Queens.
Oh, well, now you know one. Chance.
And in case you didn't feel like they were insulting enough people, they also have the feisty Asian lady who does the nails.
Oh, good. It was going to be employee lounge, but this much better. You deserve it. Fighty hoila.
All of this awful stereotyping might have been made up for if the jokes were actually funny, but the episode is just atrociously written. And worst of all, the Nanny characters are barely in it. It's like the Nanny got hijacked by some other show, and it's a groaner. Unsurprisingly, the spin-off never came about. After this, no one was really chatting about the Chatterbox. Number 4. Christmas Magic. Certainly, The Nanny's first Christmas episode, creatively titled Christmas Episode, was not their most insane holiday concept, but that one is getting its own video in December. But I feel like Christmas Episode is worth mentioning, because the ending is pretty nutso. The Nanny might exist in a world where wild and wacky shenanigans are always happening, things that require a little suspension of disbelief. But you gotta be kidding me if you're asking me to believe that Santa actually exists in this universe.
Where'd he go? I gotta lie down.
Light up the menorah, kids! Christmas is the only real holiday! And speaking of the supernatural... Number 3. Mrs. Sheffield's Ghost. At this point in the show, Mr. Sheffield and Fran are getting married, and I suppose, in order to get some closure, Maxwell has a scene with his previous wife, who appears to him as a ghost. Yes, ghosts exist in The Nanny. But, I can't believe I'm saying this, that's not the weird part. The weird part is when she drops this bomb on the audience.
Oh, I think you'd really like us, Sarah.
I do, Max. Why do you think I sent her to you?
What? So, let me get this straight. The entire premise of The Nanny, since the beginning of the pilot, was all orchestrated by the ghost of Mr. Sheffield's dead wife in order to get him and Fran together? That's insane! It's such a ride into Crazy Town that I absolutely adore it. Call the coroner, folks, because my spirit has left my body. Number 2. The Nanny gets meta. The Nanny had a strange penchant for going into surreal territory, where the lines between fantasy and reality blurred. I'm going to include the most memorable times on the same spot on this list, since all of them are equally bizarre. Fran met her character from Spinal Tap, which means Spinal Tap and the Nanny coexist. At least twice, childhood selves of the main characters entered the present world, apparently through some time travel shenanigans we weren't privy to.
You're the nanny, baby.
And last, but certainly not least, Fran Fine meets Fran Drescher herself, which is meta enough as it is, but then they just break the fourth wall to plug the series finale.
And don't forget to watch the series finale next week. Oh, I wouldn't miss it for the world. Unless, of course, that's the night I'm having my twins.
I guess if the show was ending, they didn't have to care anymore, but wow. What a way to go out. And number 1! The Nanny kills a man. Okay, we all know Fran's style is to die for, but never in a million years would I think that she actually killed someone. Unless I'd seen it for my very eyes. I'm not kidding you guys. It's in canon that the Nanny actually took someone's life. Here's the setup. Fran and Maxwell are married, but Maxwell is still iffy about going to the bathroom in front of his wife. Unfortunately, with Fran being Fran, she ends up accidentally locking them in the bathroom together. In order to preserve his privacy, she stands on the ledge outside the window. Of course she falls down and crushes a man to death. Cue the laugh track!
His wife didn't crush Wendell to death.
I'm sorry I crushed your right arm. Now, I just say that we learn to live with each other exactly the way we are, or senseless bloodshed shall continue.
This was a setup in such poor taste that I can't help but admire the show for actually going through with it. This was a life, a human life, snuffed out in a split-second poop decision. I'm in love with the absolute absurd gall of it all. I couldn't see anything else on the number 1 spot on this list, because this one absolutely killed it. So there you have it, my top 10 WTF moments in The Nanny. If you have any moments of your own, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. So, stay classy, and I'll see you next time.
So over the bridge from Flushing to the Sheffield's door, she was there to sell makeup, but the father saw more. She had style, she had flair, she was there. That's how she became the Nanny.